Good afternoon. Thank you for watching. This is now on this Wednesday. The state is reporting more COVID deaths, and it's another partial count day.
The health department is adding 13 more COVID related fatalities to the death toll today. 9 people on Oahu, 8 men ranging in age from their 50s to over 80 years old, and a woman in her 70s, as well as 4 people on Maui, 3 men from their 50s to their 70s, and 1 woman in her 80s. Now, DOH says 10 of the 13 people were hospitalized, and 1 person had no underlying conditions. Now, to the cases, 455 new COVID infections are being reported, but as Jonathan mentioned, today is a partial count because of another interruption with the lab reporting system. Now, the breakdown by island shows 291 cases on Oahu, 64 on the Big Island, 51 on Maui, 37 on Kauai, 3 on Molokai, 1 on Lanai, and 8 people diagnosed out of state. Let's take a live look now at the reef runway at Daniel K. Inouye International Airport. The CDC is sending a warning out to those who are unvaccinated, urging them not to travel. Our Casey Lund has more on this and how the Delta variant is impacting the travel industry.
Yeah, good afternoon. And to get a broader picture on all this, we want to introduce John Snook, COO of Hawaiian Airlines. We wanted to ask you just some other questions more broadly about Hawaiian Airlines operations. We know that things were starting to ramp up in the summer when the coronavirus situation seemed like it was getting better. And of course, the Delta variant came. How does that broadly impact bookings for Hawaiian Airlines?
Well, I can't talk specifically about Hawaiian's bookings, but what you've probably seen in other media sources is that the Delta variant has clearly had an impact on travel and tourism more broadly, and that's certainly unhelpful because I think we were all starting to gather some momentum there. It's a little bit difficult to discern what is the difference between a change in booking patterns versus a natural ebb that comes with the fall season after the summer peak. So it's difficult to discern exactly which of the causal factors are changing booking patterns across the industry, but I think it's unquestionable that the Delta variant is causing difficulties in all sorts of parts of the economy.
And John, another question I wanted to ask you was the fact that Hawaiian is one of the carriers that's mandating vaccinations. Can you give us an update on vaccination rates within the country or the company, excuse me, and what you guys are doing to kind of follow through on that goal?
Well, yeah, it's obviously a difficult issue to address from the whole community's perspective. We're absolute believers that the vaccines are the way to get beyond this and get our community back to living more normally again. And so we've had a strong recommendation up until recently, and now we're requiring our employees to be vaccinated. We're encouraged by the number of people that are now getting vaccinated. We've got some clinics. Our partners at Kaiser are going to be running clinics locally in our facilities in the coming days. And so we hope that we're going to see even greater pickup as a result of that.
And my last question, in 2021, with everything going on and everything you're doing to fly safely, do you feel that the airline can operate safely, moving forward into the winter in the situation that we're in?
Yeah, we have great confidence in the layered measures that we have to keep our guests and employees safe. The air conditioning systems on board modern aircraft are incredibly efficient. They're much like the air conditioning systems in hospitals with HEPA filters and circulation that is vertical rather than horizontal. So all the research has shown that sitting on board an aircraft is one of the most safe places you can be. And that combined with mask measures, I think I feel very comfortable putting my family on board an aircraft. And I think at this moment in time, airplanes are very safe places to be.
John Snook, Chief Operating Officer for Hawaiian Airlines, appreciate your time.
1 week after the governor pleaded for tourists to stay home, some travelers are beginning to cancel their hotel bookings. The mounting cancellations over the next several months come at a time when the visitor industry enters a seasonal slowdown, as you just heard the Hawaiian Airlines CEO say there. Tourism experts say that the cancellations are not only hurting the hotels, but will also hurt the many businesses that rely on visitors. Here's Mufi Hanneman, CEO of the Hawaii Lodging and Tourism Association.
We're seeing cancellations, we're seeing loss of revenues, and it's not just confined to the hotels. We're hearing it from other tourism-related businesses, attractions, restaurants, retail, across the board. So it's a precarious situation that we're in, especially when you are figuring that the slow season is upon us, the shoulder season as we call it. where visitor arrivals was going to shrink anyway. So this compounds that problem. And my concern all along is that this could attract the extractive traveler. The ambitious travelers are going to come here with no feeling of respecting our culture, our environment, or abiding by the rules.
We also got a status update from Keith Vieira. He's from KV and Associates Hospitality Consulting.
About 2 weeks ago, we could see the drop begin from the activity we had in June, July, and early August. Some of that is a natural progress of people going back to school and jobs and timing. A lot of it is because this is typically a pretty strong group time of the year, approaching the group time of the year. Then when the spike hit across the mainland in the last 2 to 3 weeks, that added to it. And then naturally with the governor's announcement last week is when we saw a significant drop to, even if you added all the future res you are taking daily, the number of cancellations were making the daily counts negative.
Tourism has always been a tricky issue in Hawaii, and never more so than now. On one hand, it provides thousands of jobs. On the other hand, residents have to cope with a range of issues to accommodate those visitors. Billy V reports on a new plan to balance the negatives with the positives.
We are joined by Kalani Ka'ana, and he is, of course, the Hawaii Tourism Authority Chief Brand Officer. Brother, what does that mean?
It's a promotion. It's a new position created by our board in July, and it really reflects our commitment to pivoting what we do as an organization. And really it encompasses me integrating Hawaiian culture, natural resources, community, and brand marketing.
Awesome. I took a look at the management plan for Oahu, DMAP, and there's a regenerative fee in there. What is that?
We're exploring ideas. I think all ideas were on the table with our steering committee. Again, the Oahu Destination Management Action Plan was our opportunity to listen to community. And this is one of the ideas that came up a lot, not across Oahu alone, but many of the islands. And so we're exploring what a fee might be able to do in the way of mitigating visitor impacts.
Is there anything like that happening right now?
Presently, no. You have normal park fees for parking and entry at, say Diamond Head State Park or State Monument, and so they exist in some spaces, but really we're looking at more of a holistic regenerative fee as an option.
Since we're talking about branding, how do we better educate our visitors, or does that mean, how do we talk to them and have them get it about what we're doing here in the islands?
I think first and foremost, it's to understand that our journey with the customer starts in their pre-travel planning, and we reach them that early. And then as they're booking their trips, they arrive in Hawaii and even going home, we're really trying to message to them along that whole entire journey. I know many community members have said, hey, Kalani, why can't we just put a video on an airplane and mandate that they watch it? And really, that would be great, and we'd look to that opportunity. But it's not the only point we want to message them at. And so we got to go through various channels, social media, pre-travel planning, in their hotel room confirmation emails, really along that whole journey. We want to continue to message, how do you malama Hawaii? How do you take care of this place? How do you live our values?
Is that how we market better to people outside?
I think marketing better really is targeting, right? So are we making sure that the messaging that we're doing does two things? One, does it hit the right ears at the right time and in the right channel? And that's really what we're focused on, is leveraging technology to be able to target that audience that we want in Hawaii.
Do we think that more people will get into the whole voluntourism thing?
We would certainly hope so. I think when people think of vacation, they think of, I just gonna rest, right? But I think also there's this opportunity for us to allow visitors the permission, if we give it, right, if we make the invitation, to go to sites across Hawaii and actually hana I ka hana, to do the work, to give back, to make sure that they're leaving this place better than when they found it. And hopefully they'll have a much richer, deeper, more authentic experience being with local community members and giving back to this place.
All right, Kalani, thank you so much. And by the way, the Oahu Destination Management Action Plan, if you'd like to take a look at it, it's located on Hawaii Tourism Authority's website.
A woman who allegedly used a fake vaccination card at Honolulu's airport is set to appear in court today. Authorities say they noticed Moderna was spelled incorrectly on the card Chloe Morozak gave them last week. Instead of an O, she spelled it with an A, like Moderna. Officers couldn't find the 24-year-old visitor from Illinois because she also gave them a fake hotel reservation, so they waited until she was leaving Hawaii this past Saturday and arrested her at the Southwest Terminal. She's now at OCCC with her bail set at $2,000. A Hawaiian Airlines plane is on its way to the East Coast to help relocate people who were recently evacuated from Afghanistan. Here's new video of its departure this morning from Honolulu's airport. The 20-year war in Afghanistan is now officially over, but the fight over the Americans left behind is just beginning. Natalie Brand has those details from the White House.
The Biden administration says there are still 100 to 200 American civilians in Afghanistan.
We've been in contact with them in the last 24 hours to tell them that we are looking at all possible options, air routes, land routes, to continue to find ways for them to help evacuate.
The Biden administration says it will use diplomatic and economic pressure to make sure the Taliban lives up to its word and allows them to leave.
We are focused on operationally moving forward on a number of fronts.
This was a botched job of gargantuan proportions.
But critics are not convinced, including Florida Congressman Mike Waltz, a Green Beret who served in Afghanistan.
We do not let terrorists dictate the time and place and method which we get our people out.
The administration says the military mission in Afghanistan has transitioned to a diplomatic one. Military leaders are expressing gratitude and support to the more than 800,000 troops who served there over the past 2 decades.
We remember 2,461 American service members and personnel who paid the ultimate price in this war.
They acknowledge that not every veteran will agree with the decision to withdraw.
And when we see what has unfolded over the last 20 years and over the last 20 days, that creates pain and anger. So yeah, I have that, but I'm a professional soldier. I'm going to contain my pain and anger and continue to execute my mission.
The next mission is already underway, helping resettle the Afghans forced out of their country. Nearly 20,000 are already being housed on military bases across the country, with room for more. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Now to an update on a story we first brought you as breaking news yesterday on This Is Now. Gunshots in a Waikiki parking garage led police to the bodies of an elderly husband and wife. It happened just before 11 a.m. yesterday at the plaza at Waikiki. HPD says the victims were a 92-year-old man and an 86-year-old woman, both with gunshot wounds. Police say a note found at the scene suggests they took their own lives.
It appears that they're both a couple, a married couple. A note was left at the scene. And the note appears that they have taken their lives, whether, like I said, it's 2 suicides, 2 unattended deaths, or murder-suicide that still is under investigation.
Police say the woman lived at the assisted living facility, but the man did not. Their identities have not been released.
A woman from Wahiawa is sharing her battle with COVID-19 while pregnant. It's a raw account, but she says she wants people to get the facts about the virus and the vaccine. She says it all started with a stuffy nose and quickly went downhill, and she says she's thankful to be alive. Mahealani Richardson has her story.
At one point, I was seeing people
Searing images for 32-year-old Trina Iman, mother of 3 and 7 months pregnant.
Now my breathing isn't doing too good.
She battled COVID first in the ICU at Kapi'olani Hospital.
I'm lonely,
And then intensive care at Queen's Punch Bowl.
I feel like all right here is on fire.
Fearing death.
I gotta fight.
Fighting for her unborn baby boy named Truce and other children.
At one point, I was seeing people being wheeled past my room, being intubated with ventilators going down their throat. Now, that's my biggest fear. I'm sitting here thinking, man, they might put me on that. Transferring me from Kapi'olani ICU to Queens ICU so that they can put a tube down my throat. I was so close that I signed papers saying that, okay, like if you guys have to C-section, take out my baby so my baby can live, please do that, It was hard thinking that I was going to be put under not being able to see my kids ever again.
After a roller coaster week in the hospital, her condition suddenly improved and she was released last week.
The nurses are amazing, and without them, I really don't think I could have done it. That they would walk into my room and say, "Hey, we're gonna fight today. You have kids to go home to." They held my hand, knowing I had COVID. They held my hand while I cried, wiped my tears.
Trina says her entire family tested positive after being notified of a COVID case at school. Now her boyfriend is hospitalized at Wahiawa General. She says she was going to get vaccinated, but being pregnant made her pause.
Misinformation, being unsure because you're like watching people post things, and on top of all of that, my own family members didn't agree with the vaccination. What I should have said was, well, my OBGYN told me I should get vaccinated because it's safe for me and my baby.
Trina says the family will get vaccinated together when given the all clear, and she's thankful she'll be able to deliver baby Truce in November.
He was kicking and just moving all over. He was so healthy.
Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
Leaders from the state health department are set to testify before a state house committee today. Dr. Libby Char and state epidemiologist Dr. Sarah Kemble are set to give an update on the department's response to the COVID surge. Kauai Mayor Derek Kawakami says contact tracers on his island cannot keep up with all the cases. Today's briefing starts at 1 p.m.
Also today, the Honolulu Police Commission is set to discuss the city's vaccine mandate. The interim chief, Roddy Vanek, will report to the panel on the impact the mandate has had on the department. Vanek reportedly told the commission that about 3/4 of HPD employees have signed up to get vaccinated. The mandate requires all city workers be vaccinated or test weekly. HPD is holding 2 vaccination events at the main station and at its Kapolei station today. The head of the CDC says the majority of new COVID cases are coming from the community, not the schools, and she is hopeful that children under 12 will be able to get the vaccine by the end of the year. She made the comments this afternoon at a back-to-class virtual town hall. Anthony Pura has more from Los Angeles.
As children across the country continue to return to school, members of the Biden administration urged parents and school staff to take the nationwide COVID surge seriously.
When we implement the masking, the ventilation strategies, the cohorting and the screening strategies, that we can have our kids be safe in school.
CDC Director Rochelle Walensky joined First Lady Jill Biden and Education Secretary Miguel Cardona for a national PTA back-to-class virtual town hall as child COVID-19 hospitalizations reach their highest level in more than a year.
We're seeing outbreaks in places where these mitigation strategies are not occurring.
We need to come together for our students. They need us now more than ever.
Here in Los Angeles, public school students who have to quarantine due to a COVID exposure will soon be able to live stream their classes to minimize any learning disruptions. For the second time since his LA middle school started, Joanna Pacini's 11-year-old son, Juan, is under quarantine.
My concern is that he will fall behind because this is the 3rd week of school.
And in Florida, the state's Department of Education announced earlier this week that it has withheld the monthly salaries of school board members in 2 school districts that made masks mandatory in classrooms. The directive is in violation of an executive order barring local officials from imposing mask mandates. Anthony Pura, CBS News, Los Angeles.
All right, we want to talk about our weather now, and to get more on that, let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy.
Really not much rain until the afternoon hours when spotty downpours are likely to occur. Because of these light winds, we'll get those clouds building up dark and thick by the middle of the day, and then they'll be hanging on until the early part of the evening. So fairly dry conditions this morning, and then by midday, clouds will be building up dark and thick over some areas, but there's still going to be enough sunshine for temperatures to run near 90, and then some spotty showers for a handful of spots, not widespread, but some spots could get a good soaking by this afternoon. And as far as the surface, it's going to be relatively small. The best size waves rolling into the south shore, but box jellyfish are there. And look for bigger waves going to be developing on the east side as those trade winds fill in by tomorrow. So light winds, spotty showers today. Windward and Mauka showers with stronger trade winds coming in tomorrow, and then we'll see lighter winds coming back on Sunday. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now for all your severe weather updates.
And check out this video, a mini rotating cloud that popped up over a few homes on Lanai yesterday morning. We had the right elements at the time for a funnel cloud with light winds, warm weather, and converging winds. Ida continues its punishing trek across the U.S. as rescue efforts still continue. Sam Brock has the latest developments.
I'm reporting from La Place, Louisiana, which is about 30 or 40 minutes outside of New Orleans. It's certainly one of those areas that was the hardest hit by Hurricane Ida. The aftermath still playing out this morning in real time. As you look over my shoulder, not only do you see down power lines, which are everywhere, but all of these cars. Folks were out here before sunrise today to try to get fuel because there is a shortage and they are desperate just to get it for their cars, but also for their generators. And that's extremely dangerous right now. We are learning from the city of New Orleans they're treating 12 people for carbon monoxide poisoning after a generator was kept inside of a home. There are warnings going out from the city to be extremely cautious if you're going to do that. And it's also just a sign of desperation. No electricity, no air conditioning. Water has been an issue, although I'm hearing from folks in this community right now that the water lines are finally coming back online. And heat-related illness right now is at the top of the list of concerns for city leaders because it is in the 90s, approaching 100 degrees. So many folks without air conditioning, something the city is watching very carefully as they continue to try to turn on power as quickly as possible. It could be within 7 days that the majority of New Orleans gets its power back. Entergy, the primary provider overnight, tweeting out that the first light shined in New Orleans East this morning. Here in Louisiana, Sam Brock, NBC News.
From the feeds time, here's what the internet is chattering about today, and I have been waiting for this first story for so long. Really, I need this. Apple says travelers in some states will soon be able to get through security using digital IDs on their phones or smart watches. The company has partnered with several states that will allow residents to add driver's license or state IDs to their digital wallets. TSA plans to enable airport security checkpoints in those states to accept those versions. This is happening in Arizona and Georgia, which of course are home to two of the world's biggest airports. Apple said Connecticut, Iowa, Kentucky, Maryland, Oklahoma, and Utah are next. I think something's missing from that list.
Hawaii?
Yes.
Yeah.
I need it so
That'll
bad.
be very convenient.
I mean, it's just the fear of losing the ID on vacation is very scary, right?
Yeah,
and then this would help resolve that.
For sure.
All right, another problem we're dealing with.
Yeah, so apparently people have started panic buying toilet paper again. So according to USA Today, manufacturers are working to meet the new spike in demand as the Delta variant spreads. For example, Kimberly-Clark, which makes Cottonelle and Scott toilet tissues, said it's trying to produce more TP and get it shipped as quickly as possible. But calm down, people. There's currently no threat of a shortage unless the panic buying itself depletes supplies. So if you're doing this, no need. Please stop.
Please stop.
Yeah.
Please stop, because I think I'm down to one roll.
Right. And a movie studio is reportedly working on a new biopic about singer Amy Winehouse. Apparently, it's going to be based on a 2010 book about the late British singer called Saving Amy. Now, the book's author, Daphne Barrick, will serve as an executive producer on the film. She reportedly completed Saving Amy with Winehouse and her family in the last 3 years of her life. Now, she used 40 hours of video footage, exclusive photos, and notes to write the book. No word on when the biopic is slated to be released, but Winehouse, she was 27 years old when she died from alcohol poisoning in 2011.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now. Ashley will be back tomorrow. I have a couple days off, so I'll see you when I get back.